Hello, and we are live. Welcome to a December episode of the Crafty Boys, where we drink beer and talk crap. I would like to welcome the boys. Hello, boys. And of
Hey,
course, our show is always brought to you by Craftyland, approved by Greta. So, boys, it's been a few weeks. How's it going?
No. It's going. It's going mighty good, I think.
yeah,
I've made it this far into December without exploding, so that's a good sign.
Well, you've had a lot of stuff going on, school
Mhm.
wise. Well, school. I call it school, but is it school too?
Career
Like
advancement,
career advancement.
required study.
You're almost there, almost there, man. Not long now.
mm,
So, Alan,
yeah.
Alan,
Yeah.
Alan, Alan, what have you been doing?
What am I doing? Like, what am I
have you been
drinking?
doing? Well, here's the
Well,
thing.
okay.
This
Well,
is why I
I've been
bring it
working
up.
hard at work. Today was my last day of work for the year. So me and a couple of workmates, we went to the pub after work. In fact, I just got home just like maybe 20 minutes ago.
mm.
I've already had my fair share of brewskis for tonight.
Ah.
All of which
What?
were Fat Tug.
I was just gonna
Uh,
say.
I don't have anything here at home to have, so I'm drinking water.
Fucking hey.
That is awesome.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm having tonight. That is
Okay.
my beer of choice. But I've had plenty of Fat
Legit.
Tug tonight, so I'm good.
I'm drinking Red Truck because I didn't get to the liquor store this week. The Cantina Paloma Wheat.
I don't think I've
It
hit the Paloma
is-
wheat. What is the Paloma?
It's not that new, but it's not that old either. It's been
I don't
around
think
for
I've
a
had
year.
it either.
But
Tell
it's
me what a Paloma is.
a Paloma is a beer that's made with wheat. Actually, it's I did look this up a while ago. But while I will look it up for you again. But what are you drinking?
Yeah. So this evening, I am drinking yet another Easterner attempt at doing a West Coast. No, not an IPA. This time, a double IPA. How West Coasty is it? Well, we will find out. We shall test it. But it has a fucking rad name. This beer is called Two Pad Stack.
Two Pad Stack West Coast IPA.
And I
All right.
love the artwork on the can, by the way.
Yes, and the delightful young lady who does that artwork is named Dana, and she is way cool.
Sweet.
This is another Sawdust City Brewing Company beer, but this one is in collaboration with a beer blogger, making me think that maybe we need to start collaborating with breweries instead of trying to thinking about starting one. So,
Hey, I'm all about.
A
Hey, I'm on
collaboration.
board.
a collaboration with beer blogger Drunk Polkaroo. That's spelled Polkaroo, as you would say Polka-aroo.
And brew.
I suspect that is a reference to the Pokeroo from the Polka Dot Door TV show.
Oh,
be.
yeah.
that
could
was
possibly
filmed, I
be.
believe, in Toronto and Vancouver as well.
Maybe. I believe that could be the case. Two Pad Stack is an old school West Coast double IPA. But what is a two pad stack? In Polk's words, two pad stack, the 2-on-1. Pass. Shooter, the gamble, the goal, all the other side of the net with reckless abandon. Calculated but desperate. Make the save, be the hero, miss it, and be the GOAT.
You cut out a little bit.
Did I?
And all I heard for
this is strategically wonderful.
it was I heard ass shooter. So,
Actually,
ass shooter.
So the ass shooter thing is like you want to you want to be a fucking great ass shooter if there's ass to be shot.
Yes, absolutely.
And you know, every time I go hunting for ass, that's exactly how I think. So here we go. 2 pads stack in both words. The defenseman doesn't prevent the pass, takes the shooter, the gamble the goalie makes, tossing it all to the other side of the net with reckless abandon, calculated but desperate. Make the save, be the hero, miss it, and be the GOAT.
That's cool. And I want to point out something because I know you guys aren't big like sports fans necessarily, but in that picture on the can there, the goalie is doing what's called stacking the pads, which is not something that goalies do anymore. That was sort of like more of like, you know, like a 60s, 70s, 80s kind of thing.
Yeah, right. So like you're trying to prevent everything, like a fucking wall of leg pads.
That's right.
From a certain angle. Yeah.
They do what's called the butterfly move now, where sort of like they go down on their knees and they try to put their legs out.
Yeah. I feel certain that I've seen Patrick Waugh make that very move.
Yeah. Although Patrick Waugh was good at stacking the pads too. He was kind of like the transition between the two styles.
He's the last goalie that I saw actually participate in a hockey fight.
Oh, there's been others since, but yes, he had no qualms about participating.
Yeah, he would get right the fuck in there. Yeah.
By the way, Locke, the Paloma, I should have known this. It's a grapefruit.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, yeah.
Of course.
A grapefruit, thing. So how is yours? Overall, that beer is rocking it, or is it not stacked as much as it could be?
This is actually for something from this far east. This is as convincingly a West Coast double IPA as I think I have had. I would still suggest that it's just a touch maltier than it ought to be, and it maybe needs just a little bit more of a pine element.
Right.
But that is from somebody that is like, aggressively into West Coast IPAs and was aggressively into West Coast IPAs when they were on their way up, as opposed to being surpassed by these, sort of Eastern sort of fruit punch haze fest things. This is a totally respectable double IPA, and it is, I would say, respectably in the West Coast style. This is good stuff. I'm into it.
Cool.
Rock and roll. Dash, do you need a beer?
Oh, is that a good dash? Yeah.
Well, this one here, the Paloma, the wheat ale from Red Truck Brewing, is good. I mean, you get a hint of the grapefruit.
Mm-hmm.
It's very mild, like it's a very sort of smooth beer. So
sort of a Palomic pamplemousse.
I've had it before, but it was a while ago. And this beer is, as I said, it's relatively, I call it new, but I mean, I think it was about a year ago, like last summer when it started. So it was sort of one of the post-COVID things, but who knows? It could have been longer. But I like it. I haven't had it in a very long time, but it's not bad. So I would like to raise a glass to Jason T. Broadfoot, who passed away last Wednesday, just over a week ago. He succumbed to his battle with lung cancer, and he will be missed.
Yes, yeah. Many long and fascinating conversations with that man over brunch. He will indeed be missed.
I don't think I ever met him, but
you probably didn't. he was originally from Manitoba,
Yep.
and he moved out here some time ago, like 30 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that. And we met him and his wife Meredith not long after we arrived. I think Allison actually met her, I think, through theater of some sort. But yeah, and unfortunately, he discovered, was diagnosed with lung cancer earlier this year, and yeah, it sucked because we got a phone call last week at like 9 in the morning on a weekday from her, which was highly unusual. And so we went and hung out with him the day before he went. So I was glad I did. And he still was in tremendous pain, but he still cracked jokes because I was sitting there holding his hand, and a nurse came in and said, "How's your pain level?" And he went, "It goes all the way to 11." And I laughed. You could not. And he laughed too, which was kind of bizarre, considering how he was feeling. But yeah, it was a rock solid guy, and it's terrible. But he was funny to the end.
When was he diagnosed?
Earlier in the year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like springish, somewhere in there. I don't remember exactly when, but yeah, it's an awful disease. Don't get it. I don't recommend it. But let me tell you more about my week. My car broke. my washing machine broke. And what else broke?
Isn't your washing machine like new?
Yeah, 3 years old. Bought it in 2019. December.
That's why it broke.
And it was exactly 1 year out of warranty. But and then of course I lost a grandmother, a pseudo grandmother of Todd's grandmother, passed away last weekend as well. 97 years old. I could only pray that I get that far. But so this week's been pretty. This week and a half, 2 weeks has been pretty crap.
Pretty dire.
And I honestly forgot about the show on last Friday. It was like 10:30, and I'm like, it's time to go to bed. It's Friday, and I'm like, oh crap! I didn't even tell anyone. Jeez.
I was all set up and ready to go. I'm sitting here waiting. I'm like, shit, things going on. I'll just leave it be.
I totally blanked. But I'm gonna get now. Now I'm gonna tell you the story about the washing machine. So last week, the washing machine started. It was fine, and then it started to act funny. I did a load. I pulled it out, put it in the dryer, started the dryer, went to put more clothing in, and when I pressed the button to set what I wanted it to be on, it acted weird. Like lights changed, and they'd never done that before. And I thought, that's a bit strange. Okay, so I did it a few times, and I realized that it didn't matter what button you pressed. The type of load, the amount of water, like everything changed. It seemed to be random. So I thought, crap. So that sucks. So I went online. I'm like, okay, I described the problem, and I found a couple of people with videos online in a couple of appliance repair forums, and did exactly the same thing. Like it was performing exactly the same way. So they said, okay, well, the control board, the motherboard of the thing needs to be replaced. So I'm like, okay, I'd probably pick one of those up, sure. So I went to go get one, and I couldn't find one anywhere. Like it was impossible. Like there were some places that I did find it where it was like $800, and I'm like, well, for another $100 I could replace the machine.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, well, that can't be the going rate for this ridiculous piece of hardware. So I went further down the rabbit hole of trying to find it. I asked Julian, a friend of the show, and so anyway, so I found one finally. He said, go on to eBay. eBay is great. And I have never bought anything on eBay. I mean, I've logged into eBay, I've looked at stuff, but I've never actually made a purchase. So I found a guy in Orillia, Ontario, which is
Okay,
why I talked about Craven House.
that's not far from here.
Exactly. So
What's his name?
I don't actually know because his
Never
handle is like some random thing. So I showed it to Julian. I'm like, hey, I can get this thing for like $170. It's like $100 cheaper than anywhere else. Tell me if this is a good idea. He's like, I would. He looked at the guy. Julian is very much a pro in buying stuff off eBay. So he said, yeah, this guy is trustworthy. Get it. So I bought this thing, and it was supposed to like show up like next week sometime.
Hmm.
It showed up after like 5 days. I'm like, oh wow, this came really quickly. All right, cool.
Mhm.
So I looked up the instructions on what to do, and they're like, here you go. You do this. It's basically plug and play. General Electric's words. So I thought, great. So I pulled it open, unscrewed the motherboard, unplugged everything, put the other one in, screwed it back in, plugged the stuff all back in. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. No response. I'm like, okay. So to reset your washing machine, you have to unplug it, leave it off for about 30 seconds, and plug it back in. I'm like, okay, great. I can do that. Just like a typical computer. Did it. Still nothing. I'm like, okay. So I pulled it all apart again. I put the old one back in, going, okay, well, the old one did something when I plugged it all back in. Nothing. I'm like, what have I done? Have I triggered a fuse that's not on the instruction thing? So I kind of gave up. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what's wrong. I'm not a dishwasher or washing machine guy. I did my extent of my knowledge. So I contacted the dude, and he's like, "It's plug and play, man. It should work right out of the thing." I'm like, "Great, all right, I'll try again."
Mhm.
So I did it, and nothing, absolutely nothing. So I looked online, and I'm kind of feeling like crap because this guy, of course, says, don't return your stuff, which I think is actually because of some rules around washing machines. I don't know, whatever. So I thought, okay, I'm screwed. So I started looking up, what a new washer would cost and this kind of stuff. And I thought, maybe there's just something I don't know that a repair dude would be able to figure out. So I hired this repair guy who's highly recommended, blah, blah, blah. He shows up and he's like, it's weird. It's very, very weird. This should just start. So he did exactly what I did. He put the old one back in. He's like, nope, that's weird. So he got out his electronics testing tools, and he started like testing connection stuff. He's like,
yep.
And so after about 15-20 minutes of doing that, he's like, okay, let me tell you what's going on here. If I do so to illustrate, the motherboard is two pieces. There's a long piece that has some electronics on it, and then the part where the dial is and all the buttons attaches on top, and then you have a ribbon cable that goes between them. So he tested them, and he started sort of poking around, looking for different connections and stuff, and he actually found that there were the new one, the button assembly, that's what I call it, wasn't registering, like it was not working properly. So, but the secondary piece, the longer piece, on the old one worked. So basically, anyway, what he did is he took the parts, he took both of them apart and just made a Frankenstein version of one, and that worked. So I had to contact this guy who sold it to me. It was supposed to be brand new. Although the repair guy was like, "This is not a brand new component. It's obviously been in a machine before because there's scuff marks and stuff." He's like, "See, it's been installed before." So I'm like, "Okay, well, could it be a refurb?" They're like, "They don't do that, but sure, I guess." So anyway, so I contacted the guy. I'm like, "It didn't work. Like I plugged it in, blah blah blah," and then I contacted him a bit later, and he said, because he had responded saying, "Well, what do you mean that doesn't work? Explain a bit more." And I'm like, "Well, I plugged it in, it didn't work," and so now I had this repair guy here, and the repair guys had to take them apart, and he's like, "Dude, it's brand new. I don't know what he does, but we'll solve it." And then like 20 minutes later, I get a full refund for this part. So kudos to the guy in Orillia, Ontario, whose name I don't know. It's just a random handle with numbers in it. But I suspect he's probably a repair guy in that town. but or runs a parts store or something. But yeah, so I didn't have to pay for the part, and the dude I had to pay just swapped them around, and I think it works. So it did one load and did it fine. So I'm gonna test it over the weekend and confirm that. But I
Cool.
gotta say, what a
So
waste of time over.
so here's my observation. If you buy a used washing machine from any time over the last decade, if it lasts for a year, you are blessed.
Yes.
That is that's good performance. If you
The,
buy a used washing machine from 30 years ago and it
It'll still
fails
work.
to last for another 20 years, then you got ripped off.
Well, it's funny because our neighbor Gordon, just next door to us, actually um, did it. He did just that. He had these brand new machines that he bought. I'll say like 6, 7, 8 years ago, and they lasted about 3 years. So he just went to the repair guy, and the repair guy's like, "You're never gonna win." Um, the repair guy I talked to, he said that the brand LG is the least repaired, or the ones that they repair the least. So he's like, that just basically says that they're doing something because um, the part in this is very nerdy, but in LG machines, apparently the parts are all separate: the pump, the power, all that kind of stuff. Where a lot of the
Yeah.
other manufacturers, it's all one big piece that if it dies for whatever reason, even if it's one component of that machine,
Yeah.
you have to replace the whole thing, the whole
Mm.
unit, and it costs like $1,000 for it. And it's like, no, it's completely disposable. This is how they. We all know this, but the things that my neighbor, he basically said, talked to his repair guy, and the repair guy said, you know what, I actually know of a company that refurbishes machines from the 70s, 80s, 90s. So he actually went out and bought a couple of those for like $300 a piece, and he's had them for 2 years now, and they haven't caused him any grief yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. If because the one thing I learned from my experience with this machine is that if you have a washing machine, have a surge protector on it, because these electronics apparently don't have any protection to them. And if you get a power surge after your power going out, they are very sensitive to dying. So, hey, mine has a power protector on it now.
So I'll tell you guys. So my washer and dryer, I bought brand new from Sears, probably a little bit more than 20 years ago. They have no real, like, there's no motherboards or anything in them.
Yeah.
They have broken over the years, but the fixes have been easy and they've been cheap. Parts are easily found, and the most common repair in the washing machine is there's these three little nubs that control sort of like the ratcheting action of the
Right.
tub that spins. These little ratchets have these little teeth on them, and the teeth wear off after a time. You know what the cost to replace those little ratchets? $5. And it literally takes about 10 minutes to fix. That is pretty much the bulk of my repair work that I've had to do. On the dryer, the heater element went on it once. The coil snapped, so I replaced that for, I think that cost about $30, and replace that. And as long as these things keep running, I'm just going to do these cheap little repairs on them, right? I mean, it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I agree. I fully agree. By the way, nothing hotter in the world than walking into your living room where there's a woman watching Deep Space Nine. I just had to give the peanut gallery her beer. So yeah, I think that, like all of the, I don't know, disposable culture of phones and electronics in general, I mean, the fact that it's really infiltrated and destroyed the buy something, use it for 20 years, and then buy a new one. It kind of annoys me.
It annoys me to no end. And it's another reason why, for like say a TV, I won't spend more than $400 on a TV, because it doesn't matter how expensive the TV is, it's only going to last you for maybe 4 years. So why spend a lot of money?
Yeah.
Mm.
Let's all get CRTs.
What the fuck's a CRT?
Cathode ray tube, like
Oh yeah,
before-
okay, yeah.
flat screens.
My
You know,
God, that is basically my retirement dream is that I get to live in the attic of a really big house.
That's not a
with-
bad dream, man. I love that.
Yeah,
Kind of like Greg
with
Brady's
a cathode
bedroom.
ray tube TV.
Good Lord, you're right.
A cathode ray tube TV with an infinite supply of VHS tapes to watch.
Those are going to
So-
get rarer, man. Those are going to get so rare now.
So I'm not sure if Locke is aware, but I have this new video game console. It's called the Atari 2600 Plus. So it's an Atari 2600, but it's been updated to have HDMI connectivity.
Okay.
And I've kind of thought about, it kind of defeats the purpose of having HDMI connectivity, but what if I got an old CRT
Oh
TV
yeah,
plugged
that could
into
be
that,
nice.
right?
Yeah, that could be really good.
What would you need? So you'd need to have it be. Oh, you need one of the those little channel 3 or 9 or whatever it was. The little
Yeah.
shifter.
Yeah.
Ah, I missed those. I had one for my my TRS-80, I think.
Mhm.
Had you had to have one.
I
For
had
that.
one for my Commodore 64.
Yep.
And then after that, we all had to get monitors specific to computers for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Which you remember the days of monochrome where there wasn't ubiquitous
Yeah.
agreement on what color the monochrome should be. Some people thought green, some people thought orange.
mine
I was a green guy myself.
Yeah.
But I knew people that had orange. They usually
You
still
had
charge
orange,
money
didn't
for
you,
them.
Shane?
No, mine
Yours was
green.
orange.
No, it was green.
Was
For
it?
a guy who's fallen by the tech wayside and become something of a Luddite, there was a period in my life where I was absolutely, and I guess maybe it's just down to me. Maybe it's just down to me being old school. But there was a period in my life where I was literally a GUI snob. I was like, no, command line's better.
We all were for quite some time. Command line
Totally.
was a big deal, but then
I would love
GUIs
to go
came
back to
along.
command line.
Guess what? Somebody's got an Apple app that turns Apple OS into, wait for it, command line.
Like, I totally
Those
miss
were the
running
days.
DOS.
Uh-huh.
I do to an extent. I wish that I was more interested in Linux or Unix back in the 80s, 90s.
Mm.
Mm.
I only came to it more sort of late 90s, but that was just out of curiosity. Now I have to use it for servers and stuff. But I got to say that command line just rules.
When you
It's
understand
simple.
when you're comfortable with command line, what you realize is that things happen in a particular order. They don't happen all at once. They go in a particular order. And if you mess
Yeah.
the order up, it might mess up what it's doing. And so you know to do things in a particular order. The problem with a GUI is it gives you the illusion that this is just space and it acts the way material space does, where everything happens contiguously, right? That's not how it goes in a software hardware processing environment. Like things happen in a discrete state, so one thing happens after another. It's very linear in that respect. Computers still function that way. They haven't stopped functioning that way,
No.
so far as I can tell. It's just that we like to pretend, because we're lazy, that we can use it as something that's sort of like infinite material space that's just ours to command, right?
Command line was clean.
Yeah.
There was no waste in it. You needed an operation done, you put in the command, it does the operation. And then if you want to do another operation, then you do that. With GUIs, you put in what you want your end result to be, and the computer does the rest, but it's not clean. It creates a lot of waste.
To figure out how to do the rest, it has to stumble around like some drunk in a bar, running into walls until it gets to the exit, and it sometimes hits the bathroom instead of the exit.
Yeah. I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah. And then occasionally kernel panic where it's just sort of like, sorry, you asked me to do what?
Yeah. Sorry, you don't have the right DirectX installed.
Oh God, do you remember those days? Like that was such a pain. Like, actually, this is such a nerd thing, but there's been a fight, I guess, is one way to describe it, between NVIDIA, specifically the CEO of NVIDIA, and a bunch of other CEOs that work within that industry. And there seems to be, and I'm not sure why this started. I didn't really follow it that far into the rabbit hole, but essentially the CEO of NVIDIA did something to piss other people off, other chip makers. And now there seems to be this sort of Cold War of, our goal is to have CPUs that are so fast that we do not need to have you anymore. Video cards will be a thing of the past, which Apple has kind of done with their M1, M2, and I think the M3 as well, which have like GPU capabilities built into them. I don't know how extensive they are. Like, I've not actively used one myself, but I like that idea. I kind of like the idea that having a CPU that's designed in a way that can allow for incredible graphic processing power, like that would be kind of awesome.
It's sort of like having a fuel injected turbo V6 or a V12.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? Well, kind of like NASA, as well as apparently a dozen other companies, are actually trying to solve the problem of sonic booms so that they can basically build Concorde-like planes that travel a hell of a lot faster. And I didn't know this.
But what do they do? Do they use wave cancellation to mitigate the boom or something?
It has something to do with a longer nose, longer than what the Concorde had.
Okay.
But it's proportionally, like if the plane is a lot larger, this cone would be a lot bigger. But apparently it has something to do with the tail, and how the tail is able to somehow, as you said, mitigate the boom. And they think that they've got it to the point now where it'll be kind of like quieter than a clap. You'd still hear it, but it's not that earth-shattering, boom. And this is the thing, I didn't actually know this, but when the Concorde first started flying, it got banned pretty quickly because of the sonic booms. And because it was like breaking windows and scaring people and all this kind of stuff. So there was Europe and North America banned overland travel of these planes. So that's why you only saw it going from Paris to New York. And because it could fly over water and cause this boom to occur and no one would be bothered. So I did not know that was the case.
No, Canadiana note here.
Yeah.
You know that the technology of the Concorde is or at least was, back in the 80s, the engineering legacy of the Avro Arrow.
Really?
I didn't know that.
I did not know that. How is okay? Tell me more. Is that like the engine design, is that kind of thing, or the shape? Or...
Yeah. So the Avro Aero used the was it the Iroquois engine? Do I have that right?
I know very little. Okay, I'm
No
bringing up
idea.
the Avarero.
And in any event, so following the decision to nix Canada's military jet program, which was supposed to be available commercially internationally for orders from other nations, we decided as a that Diefenbaker? The fuck decided that? I'm soft on my knowledge here. But basically the program got nixed.
Diefenbaker.
Was it Diefenbaker? Okay, I thought it was
Yeah.
Diefenbaker.
February
Program got
20th,
nixed,
1959.
and but
And
they still had all this
the Iroquois engine,
development,
right?
and a lot of the personnel, the staff that had the engineering staff that had developed this engine, moved on to work for the Concorde. And if you look at the sort of the outlines of the Concorde and the Avro Aero, you can see sort of the parentage a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, it had the basically the delta wing sort of design. I'm assuming the engine design possibly. Let me do a search for Concorde. Here we go. So work undertaken by both Avro Canada and Floyd benefited supersonic research at Hawker Siddeley.
Yeah.
Avro is Avro Aircraft's UK parent, and contributing programs such as the HSA 1000, the Supersonic Transport Design Study, which was the influential design of the Concorde. So yeah, I guess a lot of the research that went into this plane obviously has did a lot of work. Well done. I'm kind of sad that I did not know, or at least I didn't know that history as well as I could have. I should. Stupid education. The hell, man.
Yeah, fucking education system. This country's undermining Canadian intellectual endeavor for as long as it's been around, really. Viewers with drawers of water, that's where we're supposed to be, right?
How there was a question forming and it's gone. Never mind.
That happens at our age.
I know. It's brutal.
Let me know if it comes back.
What are the plans for the holidays? We're almost there. It's a week and a bit out. What I'm assuming you guys have huge plans, big plans.
Well, reading my results is one of those plans.
Excellent. Perfect.
I'm hoping. We'll see.
You're going to be in the big
So my parents have a bunch of friends from Australia coming.
Oh.
And so I guess they're going to be showing up for Christmas, sticking around for New Year, and they're going to be joining us, me included, up here in the Muskoka region for that New Year period.
What is the weather like up there right now?
Right now it's
like
surprisingly warm. It went above 5 degrees Celsius today. It's going to go back down to freezing. I'm going to say Monday, but maybe earlier. We'll see. Weather reports are, aspirational. They're still sort of like, yeah, well, this is going to happen, and then maybe something like it happens, but
Right.
Great.
Alan, big plans?
Oh, just Christmas dinner, and my sister and her son is going to come over, and
cool.
All that food, merriment, that kind of thing. It's about it.
We will be in Victoria on the 21st in the evening until Christmas Day. Then we have to come back for stuff. And so that week between Christmas Day and New Year's is going to be very quiet, I hope. Knock on wood. There will be nothing happening.
Except for maybe a stream or two.
Well, actually, that could happen because I'm technically closed for that week. So I hope to do very little, to be honest. I haven't had a break for like a year, almost. And it feels like I've been going. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it myself. But yeah, popping over to Victoria, just doing that thing and hanging out with people or family and stuff like that, and
Nice.
with pugs and stuff. So Alan, of course, you and I will have to drink at some point,
Absolutely.
or sip beer, and just go very slowly because okay. It's been a couple hours or the last few hours. You've actually had 2 Fat Tug. How are you feeling now?
Oh, I feel fine now.
Oh, okay. I was thinking, I gotta go to bed. Gotta lay down.
No. It's kind of one of those things where it's like you start to feel full after a little bit, and it's like, oh my god, if I have anything more, I'm gonna puke. Not because you're so drunk or anything, it's just because you're full.
At my age, there's a greater danger drinking beer of feeling bloated than there is of feeling drunk.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is so true. Wow, that's really sad. We started this show almost 10 years ago, and we've been falling apart ever since. Brutal. I'm actually looking to see if there will be any snow in Victoria or...
There's not supposed to be.
But all I see is rain, and more rain.
It's not supposed to get very cold at all. I think like the low is like 5.
Yeah, it's basically 5 degrees. Yesterday it got as low as 5.5 degrees. That's Celsius for those.
A lot of Lake Victoria.
Yeah, it's
which I have to say is great because our heater broke down a week ago. So we're good without heat.
Sorry, what? What happened?
Well, we have a heat pump, and the heat pump is, I guess, probably about 12 or 13 years old now. And so it was last Friday when I got up in the morning, our little sort of thermostat panel had this red light on it, and it was giving an error code on it. So we called the place and we gave them the error code. They came out and had a look, and it's like, yeah, sorry, the motor on it's gone. We have to order in a new one. It's going to take a little while.
Within 35 days.
And well, they said it had to come from Vancouver. They said it would be probably like early this week, but apparently it came yesterday. Now they just got to find time to come out and actually install it. Hopefully it'll be soon.
So what? How cold is it getting in your place then?
Well, it's not. We have little portable heaters that we've been using, okay. So it's been fine. It hasn't been like really cold out or anything. So
nice.
So we're not suffering.
But Locke, it must be freezing where you are, of course. If it just
it has certainly been over the last week. So Canadian Shield, it's sort of like whatever the weather is doing above it. All of that, I don't know, granite.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Whatever.
I'm assuming most of it's granite, but igneous rock, all of that igneous rock just basically reflects whatever's going on above it.
Yeah.
And so if the weather turns, it turns like on a corner. It's not like out west where there's this sort of gradient between fall closer to winter through spring closer to winter through spring closer to summer through fall closer to summer. It's sort of like you get very much 4 corners here. It's like Now it's fall. It will be fall until late October, at which point it will be winter. And now it will be winter. And it's going to be winter until it's spring, where it's suddenly spring. And it's going to be spring until it's summer, until it's fall, until it's winter again. You know what I mean?
I totally get what you mean.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no
There's no
like-
there's no middle ground here. It's like it's one of those seasons.
yeah, exactly. It's like there's a switch that goes off and suddenly it's well, I mean, we were just talking to some of our friends here in the building, and there's a problem with water in Alberta now. Like-
Sorry, there's a problem with water in Alberta now.
Wells are drying up because because of that switch, because it goes from like
Yes.
a mildish kind of spring to boom, welcome
Yeah,
to summer.
now, yeah.
It's hotter longer, and the ice pack on the mountains goes away and melts like way
So
faster.
it's turning into the desert that it would naturally otherwise be,
It-
but for the glaciers.
Exactly.
Right.
Wells
Yeah.
drying up, crops turn to dust. Children stole their children.
Their cattle laid down, turned to dust. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, is that apparently BC as well has been in a drought situation that I've not really heard of, because I guess I'm in the lucky area.
Maybe
but
the
yeah,
premier
further
of
north,
Alberta stole their sacred rock.
I suspect so. I mean, what? There's no other explanation, really. Shiva's
Sorry,
pissed off.
is this reference to an actual news item? Does that actually happen?
The sacred rock? Oh yeah, yeah.
What
It's
is
a
this?
rock about this big with like 3 lines across it representing.
Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah.
I gotta look that up now. What are they called? Shankara stones. That's what they were.
Yeah. That gorge, in the Rockies where they were fighting over that. Yeah.
I want to go to the Alberta legislature where she's like pulling somebody's heart out of their chest and everything.
Yeah. Well,
Just lowering him down
Honey
equipment.
boy!
Ah!
What is her name? Kathleen Kennedy? Or no, not Kathleen Kennedy.
I actually went to high school with a chick named Kathleen Kennedy, and she was
Oh, really?
hot.
No, it's not the same. one.
What was it called?
Danielle
what is-
something.
Danielle Smith? No, Danielle something.
Danielle Dax? No, that's a
Christine
music.
something.
Oh, I can't remember. Hey, but for $16 or $30, what the hell? Oh, okay, I can see that price gouging. So you could have your own Shankara stones. We could buy one and try and restore it back in the legislature or wherever she stole it from, and we could restore the balance of what's going on in Alberta.
We're gonna tax your Siebenlinga.
And Locke is not frozen.
No, I'm not frozen. I'm just checking out who the fuck is running Alberta these days.
Oh, Alberta Premier.
Sort of hard to tell.
The hell is it? Okay, it says
I
Premier
mean, King
of
Charles,
Alberta.
King Charles III is the sovereign. That's clear. But we knew that.
Danielle Smith.
Danielle.
It was
Smith.
Danielle
Danielle
Smith.
Smith.
There we go. Well,
So she's the one that wants to remove Alberta from the Canada pension plan.
Oh yeah, and
Really?
claims that she can take the money with her or some.
Yes.
something.
So basically, Alberta would run its own pension plan for its own citizens. But if any of their citizens left Alberta and moved to another province, they would have no pension.
It is ridiculous. She
Oh,
is
totally.
a
I'm
wingbat.
actually not even
wing
sure
nut.
that's constitutionally legal.
Well, she was informed apparently
there must be a
that she
reason
can't
why
do that.
there must be a reason why pensions are federal.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
Like,
she's a complete nutcase.
Yeah. I think it's Section 91 stuff. If it's Section 92 stuff, that all the other provinces would be doing it. Yeah.
I think she's the Section 8 stuff.
What? yeah. It's funny how MASH carries that fucking far.
I know, right? I wouldn't have known that if it hadn't been for MASH.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's an actor who was in the TV show Supergirl, a guy from the UK, and he actually was sectioned as a young adult, I believe.
In this country, we would call that being formed, but yeah,
this is in the UK, and he got whatever they call it there, against his will. I've forgotten the reason. There was basically, I can't remember. Anyway, he was put into an institution, and he eventually was released, and he was awarded some sort of I took them to court and as an adult, and what they did was wrong, and but he did a documentary about it, and I remember just randomly seeing the documentary. I watched about half of it. I'm like, hey, that's the guy from Supergirl, and I learned all of the stuff about his history. And then 2 weeks later, I'm at the Alibi room having brunch, and he's sitting at the next table, and I kept thinking,
seriously,
I want to say hello and just say, I've watched part of your documentary. It was horrible. And I learned so much. I decided not to say anything, but yeah, just knowing that he had gone through this sort of crap was brutal. But he came out on the other side of it and has had a great acting career since. You'd probably recognize him. He's been in a million things.
Cool.
But yeah, just that. What a weird memory to pop that in my head. But we've almost going an hour. How are you guys feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Right on. But
kind of like I've had a bunch of fucking double IPAs.
Nice. Thank you everyone for listening, watching, and or tolerating us for the last little while. We've had a few people watching, and we do this for fun. We will take sponsors, however. And all of our links are down
especially we will collaborate with breweries to craft.
Yes, we are interested in collaborating with breweries to come up with
exciting and marketable and likely to increase your revenue by substantial amounts by your partnership with our highly reputable representation of beer culture in this
highly respected, well thought of,
newly centuried digital environment.
On that note, that was awesome. Thank you, everybody. We will see you next week. Maybe it'll be the 22nd of December. So, Locke, if you're available, we can make that happen. I will be in Victoria. Alan, we could do it somewhere. We could totally do it. And yeah, we'll see you all next time. Thank you, Bitch. Bye, everybody. Woo! Where's the button that I wanted to hit and miss? Yeah, there it is.